Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. This is episode 55, and we're going to talk about my ongoing debate of homemade versus handcrafted. And I've mentioned that a few times in my episodes, and I wanted to kind of explain what I mean by that and how we can work through those obstacles and to the betterment of everybody in the craft. So this is a free an unscheduled, not unscheduled, I have monthly episodes that reoccur, die project, planning the next month, going over finished objects for that month. So this week there was nothing, so I had no idea what I was going to talk about today. And then last night I was rewatching. Sometimes I go back into my older episodes to figure out more topics that I could, things I have. Along with watching other people too, and what they're talking about. And I had mentioned this most recently, I think on October Finished Objects, when I was going over the Stephen West shawlography, and I touched on it there, and I was like, oh, that would be something I could expound upon. So that's why I've chosen that to be the topic of this week's episode. But we're going to go through finished items and whips, and I have some squishy mail for you today too. I have the best news. We just adopted Brienne, who's laying on the ground. You can't see her. There's Lola and Tormund, and she is like right there. She's just she got spayed yesterday. And how they do the spay and neutering here for kittens is kittens go fast here. And by law, kittens can be adopted, whatever, sold at 8 weeks of age. So people really like kittens here. And I am a bottle foster, so I get a lot of kittens. But here they're spayed and neutered at 8 weeks, or 2 pounds, or 3 pounds, 2 pounds, 2 pounds, or 3 pounds. Sometimes they wait longer for the girls. Now, because it's you can't always know a kitten's age. I go by development myself, and weight is a good indicator, weight and development. So typically it's 2 or 3 pounds, and then they can be spayed neutered. Tormund, I know, he had to hit 2 pounds. She had to hit 3, but she went to a different clinic. She went to a clinic farther away because the clinic he went to is so backed up. Because there are a lot of homeless cats that need spayed and neutered in this area. And I think that's why because the state allows them to go so early. I know a lot of some other states have that up. They don't allow them to be, and some states are also lower. So because it's 8 weeks, people pretty much want kittens at 8 weeks. They don't, older kittens get a hard time adopting. Once you hit like a couple months, they're not like the cute little kittens anymore. So I did feel kind of bad taking 2 of them because he stayed here and she stayed here, but that's like a foster failure, so it's not like I went out. I can tell you one thing, I will never have a puppy again unless it's a Chihuahua, because puppies are awful. I said this last episode, they're the worst. Puppies are the worst. If you can, don't get a puppy. It's too much work. Get an adult dog. It can be a young adult dog. Senior dogs are the best. Oh my God, senior dogs are the best. They're so easy. I love senior dogs. I love when I get a call and they go, we got this 12-year-old whatever, I don't even care what it is. Do you want to foster? Yes, I do. Yes, I will foster a senior dog because they're already trained. You don't have to potty train them. Very, very, I love adult Adult animals are my favorite. So we got our cat a kitten, and I don't know what we're thinking. Anyway, let's start. I am wearing my finished item. This is the Audine Wool Sleek from KnitCrate in... Okay, so this is Audine Wool's Sleek in the colorway Utopia. This is 220 yards to 100 grams. Remember, this is a worsted weight that I treated as a DK weight. I had 35 grams left, okay? So out of 200 grams, I had 35 grams left. It is 5% merino, 30% alpaca, and 15% cultivated mulberry silk. Ow, stop biting me. Stop, go lay down. Okay, so, right, this was worsted weight that I treated as a DK. It's hard for me to judge this. I mean, obviously, it is not too holy. Like I said, it worked out pretty well. I think the problem I'm having is the alpaca. It keeps stretching as I'm wearing this. It keeps stretching, and stretching. So it's just very weird. So I do have a Wool of the Andes 2 skeins. Remember, the Bear is 100 gram skeins, but when you buy it already dyed from Knit Picks, they come in 50 gram balls. So because I have the 200 grams, I'm going to do the same as this because that's a worsted weight too. I'm going to work it as the DK and see how that works. However, I dyed that and didn't like how it came out, so I'm going to have to re-dye it black. So maybe next month when I'm in the when I do dye project, I'll redo that one. That also is a non-superwash merino. Is it merino? Non-superwash wool. So I'm going to have a hard time getting deep black, I think. That's why I'm going to do the ProChem, like I talked about, trying to get see what the ProChem does as black. Anyway, actually I'm not sure because I already dyed it and the dyes came out too dark, so I got to see what I did there and see, because I think I might have used Dharma. Anyway, doesn't matter. We'll talk about that later. Okay, so finished tops. To talk about that, otherwise it came out fine. It absolutely came. It's just a little bit. It keeps getting bigger and bigger, which I think is what happens when you have some alpaca. But 30% alpaca, I guess I didn't think. Maybe it's a bit of the silk too. Maybe I don't know how silk is with that, because I typically don't use silk because the worms are harmed, and I don't really like to do that. Okay, so we're gonna move on to whips. We are going to start with the sweater. I actually haven't worked on this for a couple days because I had to wait for new needles to come because they don't make 9-inch circulars in a 6mm, a size 10. You don't get 9-inch circs on that size. Boo. So what I did is I have my Chiagu these and my Chiagu these. The interchangeable set. One is spin and one is twist, right? One's bamboo and one's, what is this? Stainless steel. Anyway. So then for the other side, I'm using these. Clover, Takumi, bamboo circular knitting needles. You know these, right? These you get at like Joann or wherever. So I don't like to do magic loop. I like to do 2 circulars, but when I do sleeves, I like to do a 9-inch circular because then you can just go in the round. Doesn't matter. So maybe it won't be so bad because it's bulky. It'll kind of work up fast. So where we're at is I made remember I had shown you this last time. This was made in the bigger size, so I went down to the smaller size, and I didn't block it because I tried it on and it fit great. So I'm going to go ahead and continue with the smaller size so that I hopefully won't run out. And then I'm just going to, since this hasn't been blocked, I'm just going to recake this and use it as the body. But right now I've got one cake for each of the sleeves, and I'm going to work each sleeve concurrently. So what I mean by that is I will do a repeat on the sleeve. Well, right now I just did the first row of picking up, and then because I pick up extra stitches to get rid of the gaps, I've also done the second row where I decrease so I get the right stitch count that the pattern says, because of those extra stitches that I pick up to get rid of the gaps. So I do that on each one. So that has been done. So now what we're going to do, I don't know what the pattern repeat is for the sleeves, but I'll typically do a pattern repeat. If there's not a pattern repeat, I'll typically do 10 rows each arm, or whatever if the pattern repeats 8 rows, and then you do an increase. So do decrease, like whatever the pattern repeat is, that's usually what I do. So I'll do like 10 rows on this, then I switch and do 10 rows on this, and then I do the next 10 rows on this, and do the next 10 rows on this. And then I have to keep track, of course, of what I'm doing. I was hoping to work them in the round like socks, but in order to do that, it had to be like twisted like this, I think, and that made me nervous. So I was like, let's just do on two circulars, because I have it's not like I don't have the needles. I just ordered another set of the clover. Okay, so I went down to the size 38, I think. I went down to the size 38, and that fit okay. And obviously it's going to stretch once I block it, so it fit well enough that I was like, if this stretches, it's going to be okay. I think it's going to be fine. So that's where we're at on the sweater. I'm going to start the sleeves probably tomorrow. Next is the hat, which I'm not sure. I'm at 50 grams. I just did 50 grams, so we're halfway done on the 16th of the month. I hate working on this thing. I'm hatted out, I think. I think this is going to be my last hat for a while. So, of this double layer hat. So you can see again the resist. We got those resists from the figure 8 ties. Still looks pretty cool. I don't mind it at all, and I don't think my husband minds it. So I don't think I really need to tell you anything about this, because I think every time you see it, I explain more of it to you. Did it just get really dark, like it's gonna storm or something outside? I hope it doesn't. Okay, so if it does, we're gonna have a short episode. So that's where we're at on the hat. It's my nighttime knitting. It doesn't really, it's the most boring project. So okay, then we have a dye project. If you remember, it was the two skeins, the single ply merino and the, oh, you can't even see that, the why does that look totally black? The mohair. Oh, I guess you're just, yeah, it's just at a point where it just looks all black. So we're working these together to do the Espèce Tricot Bonjour cowl. And guys, like, I'm almost at the ribbing, and like I have so much yarn left that I'm like, I'm not quite sure what I'm gonna do here. So it's top down, so this is the neck. I got gauge on the needles it called for, which was a freaking miracle. And this is so open. Do you see how open weave that is? Where's my, that's pretty open weave, right? I lost all the sun outside. It's a winter, and it's like 60 degrees today. It's ridiculous. It's super windy though. So I'm almost done with the increases. I got one more increase to go I mean, I'm not there yet, but I got to go down to round 8. And then you do like 10 more rounds or 12 more rounds, and then you do the ribbing. So I'm wondering if I'm going to make this like that other cape I was talking about and slip for the sleeves or not, because I don't really want to do that, because I wanted this to be something I could also like pull down if I was cold, but I could wear like around my neck as just a cowl if I wasn't so cold. And then if I got cold, I could pull it down over my shoulders. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I guess I'm going to see when I come to, well, I'm for sure going to, when I hit that last, I'm going to weigh my cakes after the last row of increases, because then you knit for 12 rounds. So I'm going to weigh again after I hit those 12 rounds, and that will give me how much weight 12 rounds takes. Because then you go down a needle size, okay, to do the ribbing, and you work like 12 rounds of the ribbing. Now, because you're using smaller needles, you'll use less yarn, but that 12 will give me a good idea with some wiggle room of how many rows, how much yarn 12 rounds will take. So I can decide if I want to, at that point, if I want to make it longer before I start the ribbing, or if I want to make more ribbing, which probably not. So at that point, I'm going to probably have to try it on and see where I'm at, how much yarn I have, and update then. But I mean, I'll probably have a decision by next week. So, but I do love how this is working up, if you can see it. I think it is just lovely. There's not a lot of contrast, which I really, really like. And then there's like just little bits of, I love this right there, just boom, in this really dark sea. You just get these little bits of the bright pink. So I am really, really happy with it. I think this is something I'm going to be fine wearing next to my face, as long as I don't mind the mohair. So that's where we're at with that. I don't think we have any other projects ready right now, because I'm still not even finished with, not close to finishing any of them. So maybe next week we'll probably finish that cowl first. Maybe the sweater, though, because that sweater is not going to take me very long to do all that. Okay, so squishy mail time. If you are unaware, Lola, be quiet. If you are unaware, Debbie Duck Yarns announced that she is retiring and shutting her shop. And I have some of her yarns, so I immediately went to her website and bought some more, because I like to, that's a big deal to shut down your shop, and I'm excited for her for whatever she ends up doing next, and I understand, you know, that it's a goal she accomplished, and now she wants to do other things, and that's great, and I wish her all the best. She has no idea who I am, so she's never gonna see this, so it doesn't matter. But I also want to tell you that if you want some of her, I will link her below, and if you want to help, you know, she's got some inventory to you know, get rid of. Anyway, I don't remember what I bought. Came real fast. I think it was like Monday or Tuesday, and today's Thursday, so pretty fast. Okay, so I got hand-dyed worsted yarn, 100% Shaniko wool, which I have never heard that before, so that's why I bought it, because it was Shaniko. I probably should have looked that up to see what it was. 240 yards. So would you stop it? That's a little thicker, because that's getting closer to a deep. Oh my gosh, look at, she's got little ducks. So anyway, these are pretty, from what I remember, these are pretty solids, maybe tonals. Sorry, there's some crinkling. I didn't want to open it by myself. I wanted you to be here to see what I got. Oh, I got a green 100% Shiniko wool. Oh, it is plump. Oh, it is plump and a nice spin, nice twist to it. Look at that twist. Oh, this is a gorgeous green. It's like green and it's got some yellow in it. Oh my God, I love this green. This is called Leapfrog. Oh, that's so cute. So it's got all different greens and some yellows. It's really pretty. This is her Debbie Duck Yarns. I have one of hers that's like Dream Jar, I think it's called. It's purple and blue and undyed, I think, pink. I was gonna make a hat with it, but then I didn't because I was like, I think that, oh my God, this is a blue duck. A blue duck. I thought that color wasn't for me, so I was waiting for it to be like a gift for somebody. Like eventually, this is gonna be meant for a gift for somebody. But this I actually bought for myself. Here is a charcoal. This is called Lurking in the Shadows, and this is the same 100% Shiniko wool, 240 yards, 100 grams. It says 4 to 5 stitches per inch on US 7 to 9. So I'm thinking shawl together. So sort of a mosaic design with these two together. Because you know me, I love doing, oh my gosh, Ramesh's more earring. My earrings, which are from Black Magic Jewelry. These are like witches' cauldrons. And these come in like 3 different colors. There's green and pink and purple. Guess which ones I got? I got the green and the purple. The pink kind of looked orange, so I was like, I'm not sure I want that one. Anyway, I'll link her below too because she's amazing. I'm excited to have something nice and warm that's green and charcoal. Really gorgeous. I really like this base. It's very, I love that spin. You see that spin? See how gorgeous that is? I wonder how many plies that is. What, I love that twist. Is that a Z twist? I can never tell what the twist is. But I'm really excited. I'm really excited about this. So if you want to check her out before she's sold out, oh God, it's really squishy. That looks like it's gonna be super warm. Gonna throw that down on the floor. Okay, so our topic today. I just jotted down some thoughts, so this is gonna kind of be more free form thought. What do you call that? When it's just your train of thoughts, there's a word. I can't think of it. Of course I can't. But okay. When you're talking about homemade versus handcrafted in the fiber arts community, and that's specifically what I'm talking about, crochet, knitting, dyeing yarn, weaving, any of that, any of the fiber arts, yarn crafts. Okay. Not that I know what every single fiber art is, because I'm not involved in all of them. Obviously, I like yarn. Yarn is my. Oh my God, why can't I think of any words at all? Yarn is the medium I chose. Yarn. Okay, so this type of conversation can ultimately lead to discussions about classism, racism, access, yarn snob, gatekeeping, stuff like that. And those conversations should be had, and they're important to have. But that's not really what I want to talk about today, because I think we have to kind of go over the basics first before we go there. And I also want to kind of point out that right now we live in a really strange time, right? Because of internet access that we have at our fingertips, most of us, we have access to all kinds of information. So it's not like it used to be where you had to be taught this by someone. I started this when I was 13. I learned out of a booklet. I believe I've shown you the booklet with the cover missing. I mean, the cover separate. I still have the cover, but it fell off a long time ago. So I learned from illustrations in a book. And YouTube is way easier. So now we have these things at our literal fingertips where we can learn all about anything we want to learn about. So there are things that I do want to talk about in this discussion of homemade versus handcrafted. And I like to kind of explain that a little bit as homemade can also be considered the hobbyist, the amateur, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. If you know one stitch and you crochet blankets and that's all you want to do, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with being a hobbyist. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it's art. It's however you want to do it. Okay? That's fine. There's also like handcrafting would be more considered the professional. They have more experience, more education, most likely, more knowledge. So it's, it's just the progression of one to the other. Neither is better. It's just where you want to be on the spectrum of things. Okay. So we're also talking like, free patterns on a blog to, published magazines and booklets like Palm Mag and Vogue Knitting. There's a giant difference as to what goes into some pattern on a blog like mine and something, published in a real, distributed media. So both are fine, but both are different. Does that make sense? They're fine, they're just different. So just because I give out my own patterns for free, I don't want to be published in Knitting, Vogue, or Palm Mag. I have no desire to go that way at all with my designs. That's I will never go higher than this in my designing. I hope, because I don't want to. I don't want to. But there is also a difference that I want to point out in what I offer in my patterns that are not always offered in the same. So here's what began when I was talking about the Stephen West shawl, shawlography specifically. He wrote that shawl with an I-cord edge, okay? An I-cord edge and an I-cord bind off, okay? Now that gives you a very polished look to your work when it's done, okay? You don't have, because like if you just do, of course I don't have anything here because everything I'm doing is in the round, But when you do like a shawl, let's say you're doing, all I do is shawls, right? When you do a shawl or something flat, like, okay, let's say you're doing a scarf, you have that knot on the ends. They're really usually not very pretty ends. So there are different things you can do to make them look nice. So that's like if you start every row with a knit stitch and you end every every row with a knit stitch, you're going to get garter ridge, right? But you're not going to have a pretty decorative edge. You're going to have just a plain edge that doesn't look very nice. And to me, that's a homemade thing. To take that up to a handcrafted level, you're going to have to do some extra stuff, which is slipping some stitches to give you a more decorative edge. So there are different tricks like that to take your work from homemade to handcrafted. And a lot of times those come from patterns that are not free on a blog. My patterns, I always will tell you if it is written in to have a decorative edge that you can choose to skip if you don't want to learn it. And also, I tell you there's a decorative stitch on the edges so that you can then take that and apply it to your own work, because every pattern I do now gets a decorative edge, unless it's just going to be seamed, but I don't like to do seaming, so I don't do that. So that's one of the things I do. I consider myself a handcrafter. When I was starting out, it was homemade for sure. But as I used better materials, as I got better, I was using better yarns, I was using better needles to make my work, which made a huge difference. Oh my gosh, I can't even tell you what changing my tools did to make my work better. Changing my tools, changing my materials, just brought up my level so much just doing that. I also like to research a lot of stuff. So I went in search of, how to make the ends of my pieces look better. And I found a wealth of information. One was, I think, what was her name? Sapphire N Purls. She has a whole thing about slipping your first stitch, how you slip the first and how you work the last. It's not just one, it is the two of them. It is how you work the first stitch and how you work the last stitch. And that's where the magic happens. So I will find her and I will link her below too if you want to read up on that. Other things that can bring you from homemade to handcrafted. What did I already say? Materials. Your experience, just doing more things, branching out, making different things. If you just make blankets and scarves, that's fine, if that's all you want to do. But if you want to become better at your craft, you have to branch out and do more things. So that's why I follow a lot of different people that make things that I might not really enjoy. Like things I might not. I am obsessed with socks. I am obsessed with knit socks. I really am. And I made one pair of knit socks that were worsted weight Briggs & Little yarn that I absolutely love. I have a bunch of worsted weight sock yarn because I want to make worsted weight socks. The problem is I have a high arch and a high instep, so I had to get a special book by some lady, I don't remember. So I have to calculate, I have to change things, basically have to make custom socks otherwise they don't fit my feet. It's ridiculous. It is so, and I was like, is this why I hate wearing regular socks? Because they never fit my feet. So I'm not big on wearing socks in the first place. So I love taking sock patterns and putting them on hats, like the Hermione sock pattern, that texture. I put that on my sock hats. I absolutely love it. So anyway, I like socks because there are so many different textured patterns that are really in a small, it's just such a way to showcase in a small but complete thing as new stitches, and I just absolutely love that for some reason. I don't know why. But that's one of the things that I do to see what people are doing, what stitches are they using, you know. Sometimes I'll buy a pattern just to see what the stitch is, if it's not too expensive. Like, what stitch is that? Because that, to me, is, eventually I do want to make socks. Eventually I will make socks. Maybe next year, who knows. Why did I get on the sock tangent? Anyway, if you find something that will pull you to go further in the craft, this is also why I have ventured into wearables, starting with, I started something easy, tops, where the fit is pretty easy to do, because like I said, you only have to do this round part, and then the rest really is just covering, so it doesn't really have to do anything. And from there going on to, well, there were other tops I wanted to do too, but they're going on into sweaters and stuff like that. So you could still have sweaters that are homemade, and you can have sweaters that are handcrafted, and it's, I don't want it to be a classist thing, and I don't want it to be, because I do realize that there is still, like dyeing yarn, there's a lot of secrets, and there's a lot of, you know, access to that knowledge. And I think if you want to get better at your craft and you want those things, you have to reach out and you have to start buying better patterns. You have to push yourself and, you know, just go further. But if you don't want to, you don't have to. So it's just a difference. And the only time that that really becomes an issue for handcrafters is when we talk about selling your work. And that's like the, oh my God, I see questions about this all the time of selling. They're like, oh, my family says I'm really good, they think I should sell. And I'm like, you know, my family said the same thing. You're so good at this, you should sell. And they're comparing my work to like an acrylic hat from Walmart. And I'm like, these are two different things. So we have a problem at least in my country, where handcrafters are competing with mass-produced like machine knit hats made out of acrylic, when we're hand knitting hats out of wool and cashmere. Okay, totally different price points here. Okay, totally different. Like, if those weren't machine made, I would put them in the homemade part, because they can't compete with, you know, a hand knit, you know, cashmere hat. You just can't compete with the material. You can't compete with the quality. With something mass produced to something that's handcrafted. And a lot of times I see knitters and crocheters at like flea markets and discount places, like discount, not juried shows. Like, I see fiber artists at art shows that are jury, you know, where you can't get in without people looking at your work. You know what I mean? Where the other places will take anybody that wants to pay the entrance fee. So that's another way, if you are a handcrafter and you're finding yourself at these shows that where people are looking for a bargain, they're not looking for actual, you know, what your stuff is worth, because there is a difference. There is a difference. So I'm not saying you can't make hats on your machine. That's fine. If you want to make acrylic hats on your machine all day long and sell them at craft fairs, I have no problem. My problem is when the handcrafters that are hand knitting with higher quality fibers, and you're put in the same place where that person is selling. I think that's unfair, and you can't compare those two. Even though people do, because like I said, when my family's like, oh, you're good enough to sell, and I'm like, yeah, but I'm not selling what Walmart's selling, and I'm not selling it for Walmart prices. And my family also told us all that we were allergic to wool And I'm obviously not allergic to wool because I've been wearing wool for years. But their whole thing is, oh, we're allergic to wool. We can't wear wool. It makes us scratchy. And I'm like, that was like something our mom said in like the 70s. Like, that was like probably talking about 70s wool, and wool's a lot different now. So if your family's like mine, don't listen to them. Don't listen to them about how you should sell and how you're good enough to sell and how you should sell and crap like that. Because I'm not selling my cashmere hats that take me a month. I'm not selling those for like $10 at a craft show. Not doing it. Not doing it. And my problem with that is every time that's done, every time that a hobbyist is selling in a craft show, that brings down the overall value of the entire craft. That brings down the value of and I think it shouldn't, because I think they shouldn't be comparable, just how craft store yarn should not be comparable to a hand-dyed indie yarn. That should not be it just shouldn't be comparable. They should be on two different. It should be split to homemade, handcrafted. Like, we should make that distinction. But I understand why we can't. I'm just saying that there's nothing wrong with either, other than they are a lot of times treated like they are the same. Why would I buy this indie dyed yarn when I can get this colorful acrylic at the craft store? There's lots of reasons. Knitting with acrylic is not the same as knitting with wool. It just isn't. And everyone told me it was the same, and it's not. So don't listen to people that say there's no difference, that acrylic is just as good as wool. It might be just as good, but it depends on what you're making. And that's another part of handcrafting, is to know which fibers are going to work the best for your projects. Like, even on this show, we've had some things where I've had to get rid of a project. I've had to nix a project because the fiber or the yarn we had was just not a good fit for that project. And that's another thing that comes with experience. You know, you can also read, if there are people you like that are very, very good, like Andrea Mowry. She has a YouTube channel. I very much recommend following her. She has great stuff, and she is a handcrafter. Stephen West, handcrafter. So seek out those people that do the kind of work that you want to do, and learn all you can. Learn all you can from them. And those are probably two of the hottest designers right now, right? Drea Renee Knits, that's Andrea Mowry. And Stephen West, probably the two of the biggest that I can think of off the top of my head. Those are the two that I think of. For shawls, it's Casapinka, of course. And indie dyers. Okay. But see, now indie dyers are a different breed because they don't like to share their secrets. So for indie dyers, Frost Yarns, I've already mentioned Frost Yarns, Chemknits tutorials, and Bunny Crafts Oxford. I mentioned them last time. I mentioned them whenever Dye Project was. I mentioned them. So if you want to learn dyeing, go there. Learn all you can. Also, Sweet Georgia Yarns. Is that what it is? She wrote that book that's out of print now. That was the best book I ever read on dyeing. It had a whole bunch of formulas in it. So I promise you, the information is out there if you want it. If you want it, it's out there, and you can find it. I know not everyone has access to internet, and if you don't have access to internet, you're not watching me right now. Also, check your local library. I got tons of books, including that out of print. What is her name? I cannot remember. The Sweet Georgia Yarns lady. I want to say her last name is Lowe, but I think it's maybe. cannot remember her name. Oh my God. She also puts out a video like every Friday, update for Sweet Georgia. And they have classes and stuff, Sweet Georgia Yarns. I'll link her below too. So if you want to stay a hobbyist, that's fine. I have no problem with that. This craft should be open and welcoming to everybody, no matter what you want to make with it. Good. And get out there and let people see you doing it, so we know that this isn't just a grandma thing. But I hate saying that it's a grandma thing because I'm old enough to be a grandma. So I kind of take a little offense to that. It's for everybody. It's for everybody, any color, any race, any religion, any nationality, anywhere you are in the world, you should be able to do this. And that's one of the things that I think it should be available to everybody. And I want to help with accessibility. I know how big I am on accessibility. What is accessible to everybody? So I think that is probably where because I am disabled, that I want that accessibility to everybody. No, even if you're not disabled, if you have other obstacles to getting the information, I want to help get that information to everybody. That's why I'm open about my dyeing, and I'm open about my, I offer most of my patterns for free, because I want you to have it. I want you to be able to learn. That's why I do this channel, is to help you do what I do. And I think the only way I can do that is to show you what I do and teach you what I know. And then share if I find anything cool. And the coolest thing I know is that Sapphire, I think it's Sapphire N Purls or something, how to make your edges look nice. That changed my work. Like, just doing that simple thing changed my work so much. Like, I can't even tell you. It's just amazing how everything looks so nice. Looks so nice. Also, changing your increases is another one. Stephen West has a video. It's in my recommended viewing of the different increases that he uses. Because there are times, like with designing my shawls, my Eleanor, my second series, which was Eleanor, the bias garter rigid, the bias garter shawls, that, remember, we went through that whole thing, and I ended up changing my increases to make it stretchier. Remember, that was a whole thing. And those are little things that are going to take you from homemade to handcrafted, if you want to. If you're content to stay where you are, no judgment from me. As long as you're crafting and you're happy, I'm happy. I mean, somebody needs to buy up all that acrylic in the yarn stores. It's still yarn. It's still yarn. You're still knitting. You're still crocheting. If you like it, you like it. Use what you like. I don't like acrylic on my skin. It makes me hot and like traps in the moisture. I don't like it. I like wool because it lets me breathe and still keeps me warm. So that's just my thing. But if you want to put all the time into an acrylic sweater, good on ya. That thing will probably last forever. And it won't get eaten by moths. So if you're not bothered by, if your skin doesn't react to acrylic the same way. Same if you say you're vegan, you don't want to use wool. When you care about the environment, so you don't want to use acrylic. So you're going to be looking at like bamboo, and you're going to be looking at cellulose fibers. And I don't know how those wear, but if you want to make a sweater out of that and you can, go for it. I don't know how that's going to work, because I've never made anything with cotton yet. So I've got some cotton. I don't know what to do with it because I'm such a wool girl. I don't know. I only know how to work with my wool so far. So yes, homemade, handcrafted. There is a difference. Know the difference. And if you want to come to the other side, there's ways to do that. Did I already say? Materials, experience, education, and knowledge. Yeah, like, it's just nuts to me that when we all have computers in our hands. Like, that is amazing to me, because I remember when computers did not exist. You did not have a computer in every home. Computers like weren't even a thing. Like businesses had computers. Computers were giant things. Like, they took up giant rooms. Like, they were huge. And now we all have one in our hands every day. And, you know, instead of looking at pictures of cats, which I know that's the whole reason why the internet was invented, right? Was pictures of cats, right? I swear to God it was. There's still a lot to learn about knitting and crochet and yarn and stuff like that. And so I would tell you to seek it out. I'm always seeing questions asked in like my fiber arts groups, like the knitting groups especially. People asking questions like, what's blocking? And I'm like, oh my God, I could write you a whole book on blocking. Why don't you just go down the Google rabbit hole and learn all you can? Like, I don't know. Maybe because I've always been a self-taught at everything, and I've been a seeker of knowledge forever. And when I was little, I had no friends, so my friends were all books, and that's all I did was read. So I love seeking. I'm like a natural researcher. I seek out knowledge. If I don't know, I was just posting this week. Someone found out what a linked DC was, a linked double crochet, and she was like, oh my God, where has this been all my life? And I'm like, yeah, just wait till you try to find a way to make it seamless in the round. It's gonna ruin your life. And she's like, oh my God, how do you do that? I'm like, I don't know, it ruined my life. Ruined my life trying to find out. And then one lady was like, just go in a spiral. I'm like, it's not the same. But I was like, oh my God, I loved linked double crochets. It was like my favorite stitch, and because it's been so long, I had said I wanted to do that cardigan, but something was like, and I'm like, that blanket cardigan totally should have linked those half doubles. That was a half double. Totally should have linked it. Oh my God, that would have turned out so much better. But something I had completely forgotten because I hadn't been crocheting in years. So that's what you're going to find stuff in unusual places. I also recommend YouTube as a source for anything you want to look up that is yarn related, any stitch you want to look up, if you're making something, look up hats. Look up YouTube hat. You can watch someone make a hat. It's ridiculous the amount of knowledge that's out here. And not all of it's good knowledge. Not all of it is right. But the more you know, the more you'll be able to decipher between what is helpful and what is unhelpful. And that's really what you want to do, is know enough that you know enough to determine what you need and what you don't need. So I beg of you to continue learning about the craft. I really do. You don't have to take those courses. You don't have to take that, what is that, master knitting? You don't have to do that. That's completely beside the point. I was thinking though of, there's like what is it? It's a Blueprint now, or what was it? It got sold, and then it was something else, but then it came back, right? It went away, and then it came back. I can't think of what it was. But there are online classes for anything you could want to learn. I'll put some links. I know Sweet Georgia Yarns has a online like school, and why am I thinking Blueprint? Did they change the name back? Did it start with a C? I can't think of it. But there are places that do have classes. But before you do that, would you check YouTube? Because you can probably learn the same thing on YouTube for free. Just saying. Anyway, I do want to be Oh, Very Pink Knits too. Very Pink Knits is another one that has great tutorials for learning, finishing, and learning other things. She is, and her videos are really well done, and you can see what she's doing. I'm trying to think of who else Mikey at the Crochet Crowd. I have some problems with that because I don't think that, and there's also a difference in this community between knitting and crochet. And crochet seems to be at a lower price point and at a lower than knitting. And I don't know if that's because of the people who are crocheting or the people who are leading the crochet community. Because it seems to me it's harder to find like better crochet things, or fewer and hard to find than the higher end, more well done knitting thing. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? And I don't know if it's the because I notice I'm in both communities. I'm in the crochet community and I'm in the knitting community. And the crochet community, for sure, way more acrylic, way more hobbyists. That I don't think they need to be hobbyists, but I also don't think there's anyone really leading that besides the Crochet Crowd. And I don't think they're leading. I think they're catering to the crowd instead of leading them upwards and making them better artists. Which, what are you doing then? We should be sharing knowledge and saying, learn this and get better. But I haven't followed the Crochet Crowd in a while because I was like, you're not teaching me anything. And I was like stagnant, I guess. Because I'm always looking to learn. Like, what are you going to teach me? What help me be better? That's what I'm trying to do. And that's what I'm trying to help you do too. So, whenever I find something, I put it on my list of recommended viewing. So, for sure, I would recommend viewing those. As always, if you have specific questions about something, I am more than willing to help out. Remember, there's nothing wrong with homemade or being a hobbyist. So don't gatekeep. Don't gatekeep any of the art. Art is not for us to gatekeep, okay? Anyone can do it. Children can finger paint. They can draw with crayons. Then there's what's his name that does all the splattering paint that I freaking hate. Jackson Pollock, right? I put him as those guys. Same thing. And then there's like, who's my favorite? Do I have a favorite artist? Probably not. Because I can't think of any except for Monet, and I just think his colors are pretty. And I like Michelangelo did the statue of David. I think that's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. And his pupils are heart-shaped, and I'm like, oh my God, so beautiful. I love sculptures. I think that's the most amazing thing I've ever seen in my life is sculpting. I think that's like my brain can't even comprehend that. Like either if you're taking stuff away or if you're building it up, depending on which way you do it. I think they're both amazing, and my brain just doesn't comprehend it. But I think everyone probably starts with finger painting, right? So gotta start somewhere. If you never progress beyond, that's fine. Nothing that says you have to. If you enjoy finger painting and you want to finger paint till you're 100 years old, good. I hope you love it. I hope it brings you joy. And that's all. No one says you have to be Michelangelo. Nobody says that. So it's fine. It's fine whatever you want to do. Let's just be happy in what you're doing. That's all. That's where I'm at. And I want to help work bringing down the barrier to access for everyone. So I do recommend libraries. Our library is like all connected in the area, so I just go online and search for stuff, and I can get them from like anywhere in the state. I can get stuff. So do that, because then you don't have to buy stuff. And then if you really like the book and it's still in print, you can buy it. Yeah, don't be classist about it. Don't gatekeep, and don't be racist about it either. I think we all need to work on making everything more accessible to everybody, and being a welcoming space for everybody that does want to learn, no matter what they want to learn. I don't care what you want to learn. If I know how to do it, I'm going to tell you what I know, or I'm going to direct you to people who know, or, and I'm going to celebrate that you like to do what I like to do, because that means we got something in common. So, and that's a good place to start, I think. So on that note, I'm going to say goodbye, because it's getting darker again. And I'm hungry, and yeah, it's my lunchtime. So I want to thank you again for sitting with me for an hour. I hope I got my message through without being classist or too privileged. I do know I am privileged. I have been knitting and crocheting for a long time, and I do have really good access to anything I could need. I have money to buy better quality tools and materials, and I try not to feel bad about that, because I am trying to help everyone else to find where they want to be and to get what they want, and I'm not always sure how to do that. So if you have suggestions, I am all ears. However I can help, I will help. Okay, I hope you enjoyed your hour with me. I hope you learned something. As always, reach out if you feel the need, if you want to comment, like, subscribe, whatever. Do have a couple new subscribers, so hi guys. Still have like 10 viewers. Hi guys. Totally fine, because did you watch Aro Knits and Pearls the other day, where her followers started DMing her because she started using green yarn? Oh my god, like, are you kidding me? Boundaries, people. Oh my goodness. Could you imagine? Like, I can't even imagine if I like made something, okay, say powder pink, like her favorite color is that little baby pink, right? Like, if I, Goth Girl TM, started making something in baby pink, and people were like DMing me like, oh my god, why are you using that color? You're Goth Girl TM, you should only be using black. Like, excuse me, I can use whatever color I want. Plus, who cares? Who cares what color people are using? Come on. Boundaries, people. Ridiculous. That's why I'm glad I don't have 2,000 subscribers, or however many. She probably has like 10,000. I don't even know how many subscribers she has. But I don't want however many gives you that, because I don't want to deal with that either. Anyway, I feel so bad that she has to deal with that. I would just like block those people. I would be like, no, we're not having this conversation. Did I also tell you that if something I made blew up and I got 1 million orders, I would shut down my shop and go run away to the forest and refund everybody's money and hide away? No thanks. Okay, goodbye guys. Take care of yourselves. I'll see you next week. Bye.